You're listening to Parenting Our Future with certified parent coach Robbin McManne, author of The Yelling Cure and founder of Parenting for Connection. My podcast is all about providing you with the tools and solutions you need in your parenting so you can create the family you always wanted. Hi, everybody. It's Robbin McManne here, and welcome back to Parenting Our Future. Okay, we are going to just have some fun today. So I just want you to sit back with a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, a glass of wine, whatever you want. And we are just here to have some fun and talk to a beautiful actress, Renée Felice Smith. And I want to tell you all about her. You probably already know her from NCIS LA, but I want to tell you just a little bit more about her. And then we're going to talk about one of the sweetest books that you will ever read, and a little bit more about her as well. So Renée Felice Smith, welcome. She is an acclaimed actress and producer and director and writer. She recently released her debut children's book, which is why she's here, called Hugo and the Impossible Thing, which is via Flamingo Books and Penguin Random House, which is important to note. We got to give credit where credit is due. She was inspired by her real life French Bulldog Hugo and his battle with a brain tumor. We're going to talk about your sweet puppy. So Renée, really, you will know her from NCIS LA, where she plays Nell Jones. And so there's some stuff we're going to talk about with NCIS LA, because some big things happened this season for you, for your character. Yes. And so again, with your book came out on March the 30th, and it is a beautiful work of art. The artwork is beautiful. The dog Hugo is the cutest thing in the world in that book.
Thank you.
And this really is something for parents and for really for kids of all ages. This book, it is a beautiful, inspirational story, and I really enjoyed reading it. So I just want to say thank you for being here. I'm so happy to have you here, Renée. Thank you so much.
Robbin. Yeah. Thank you so much, Robbin. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to talk with you in this way, obviously, about our little book. Here it is.
There he
Hugo and the Impossible Thing. We wrote the book as a celebration, really. Once Hugo, our Frenchie, our beloved canine son, we always referred to him as our son. We are not parents of human children, but we do have dog children, which I very much feel like, yes, I didn't birth him, but I loved him in that way. I had that bond in that way. Anyhow, so it was a celebration after Hugo had recovered from what we were told would be this impossible illness, this inoperable brain tumor. And really, honestly, it was a miracle to watch. It was a long, hard journey, but Hugo eventually made it to the other side of his impossible thing. And he lived a full life. He made a full recovery, and he lived for another almost 3 years after his initial diagnosis as a fully functioning wild boy.
So back to his crazy self.
Back to his crazy Frenchie ways. We were so excited when he started growling on walks. He had massive leash aggression. Obviously, this isn't a positive thing.
No. Right.
Luckily, our other two don't have leash aggression, but he did. He was just an alpha in every sense of the word. So once he had started, after his treatment, and once he had started kind of like falling back on those bad habits, we were like, he's back. And he's back. We were so overjoyed the first time he growled at another dog on a walk, from a distance. We were like, oh, that's him. This is our little feisty guy,
Oh, that's so great.
So anyhow, the book is really, it was a celebration. We wrote it after he had healed. And we knew we wanted to share his message. We knew he had a very inspiring message, and we needed to find a way to do that. Obviously, we didn't want to write a picture book about a dog with a brain tumor. That is just not going to happen.
Yeah.
But we felt that, you know, everyone has their own impossible thing, whatever that looks like for you in your life. You know, it can kind of map onto kind of everyone's life, whether it's a challenge with school, a challenge your kids are facing in school, whether it's a challenge you're facing career-wise, family-wise, relationship-wise, health-wise. We all have our impossible thing, and how do we get to the other side? Is there a way, right? And then also the other goal was to kind of reframe the word impossible, because I think a lot of times Chris and I wrote the book together. I should say that too. Chris, my partner, my other half, my creative partner, writing partner, everything partner. Yeah, he and I wrote the book together, and, you know, we had talked a lot about reframing this word impossible, because when Hugo was first diagnosed, basically every single person we talked to, every doctor we talked to, the resounding kind of, you know, common denominator was that this was kind of the end of the road. You know, they had given him a very short amount of time to live, and we just couldn't accept that without exploring further. Right. So we really wanted to reframe the word impossible as something that may be extremely difficult, but possibly possible if we're willing to try and go to the end of the road, right? And see for ourselves. And we knew we needed to do that for him, you know, advocating for him. We needed to see it through to the end and see, is there anything else we can do? You know, what can we do to support him? And so that is, yeah, that's the inspiration for the book. That's kind of the abbreviated story.
Well, it's interesting because it's almost parallel journeys, if I can be so bold as to say it, because your journey was the impossible thing too, to find him, because you were coming up against, which I'm sure was devastating, doctor or vet after vet after vet saying, nope, can't do it. How did you even find a doctor to help him, or a vet, a doctor vet? You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. They are both things.
Yeah.
A dear friend of mine, actually, Eric Olson, who is my coworker at NCIS LA for the past 10 plus years. He is a huge animal lover, and he is, you know, a dog dad, and he had the recommendation. He was the first person I called, to be perfectly honest, when we found out that Hugo was diagnosed. And, you know, he led us to kind of the specialist in LA that then led us to another specialist in San Francisco. It was really kind of this, for lack of a better word, yellow brick road journey that we had to take to find the people who were willing to help. And also it was a ton of research on Chris and my part, outside of really what the information we were getting from the vet. We had to do so much research ourselves, and unsurprisingly, I should say, there's not a lot of success stories for animals in this situation. And so we really were kind of like carving our own path. You know, we did the radiation, and after radiation, he still couldn't walk. And we were just racking our brains. Our doctor really couldn't figure it out. And then we realized he must have fluid trapped in his brain. So in actuality, the tumor had completely disappeared. It, like, radiation was incredible. Our doctor did an incredible job with that. And the tumor completely disappeared. There was no evidence of tumor on his MRI recheck, but in its place was a bunch of fluid that had no way of getting out of the brain. So it was essentially like almost sinking the brain, right? Yeah. So we sought out this amazing doctor in San Francisco who essentially put a little tube in his brain and rerouted that fluid into the muscle in his abdomen. And they used a pediatric tube, a pediatric tube for a child that's like 2 to 3 years old, because that was kind of Hugo's weight range. And the doctor herself, the surgeon, Bev Sturgis at UC Davis, drove to the pediatric hospital to get the right shunt, it's called. It sounds like a very, kind of scary term.
Yeah.
A shunt in the brain. When she was telling us the procedure, we're like, okay. But she was willing to do it. No one else in California was willing to try. Bev was willing to try, and we knew that this was his only option. We needed to get the fluid out, and we needed to get it out really quickly. And she did it as sort of this emergency surgery. And one day later, they called us. We were up there. We were staying at a little hotel, just kind of waiting, to hear. And he came out of this 7-hour surgery. She said it went beautifully. Let's see what happens. Let's let him heal in ICU. And he popped up almost 12 hours after his surgery, standing in his kennel. And it was, I'm going to get choked up, but he hadn't stood on his own for 10 months. So when you have an animal that can't walk on their own and you're their lifeline, it was truly incredible to witness him learn to walk again. He actually, when he started walking again, he could only walk backwards. And he was essentially moonwalking. It was so cute. And we were like, we'll take it whatever direction he wants to go in. He's doing it on his own. This is incredible. And so that was for about the first, probably the first 5 or 10 minutes that he was walking. He was just kept kind of going backwards. We're like, okay, dude, this is kind of a new move. This is fun. Well, okay, we're going backwards. Why not? And then the neural pathways had to kind of like relearn that forward motion. And so we just started moving his paws in the forward motion. And then by the end of the day, he was like running on his own. It was so incredible.
It sounds miraculous. Wow.
It really was, but we wouldn't have gotten there if we didn't have, if we hadn't advocated and really done the research, and then also, found this incredible person who believed she could help. And so she's represented in the story. We think of her as Miss Otter, because she was just the most skilled out of all of Hugo's helper friends. And his physical therapist is represented through Little Fox. Gina Kwong, his physical therapist, who really helped him make the full recovery. So yeah, that's the story.
That's incredible. And you said a bunch of things that I wanted to address, because you said with the research, surprisingly, but not surprisingly, there isn't a lot out there. And it makes sense, because not everybody would be in the position or have the knowledge that they could save their animal, or even be able to afford it, because I'm sure that was a big expense, right? So I think perhaps that Hugo's story and Hugo's experience will help many other of our beautiful animals having that experience now documented.
I hope so. I really do. Actually, this is great. So at UC Davis, it's a teaching hospital. And there was a graduate student who was assisting the surgeon, Bev Sturgis, who's just a complete rock star. She's like one of the best neurosurgeons in the United States. And she's the person who performed his surgery. Veterinary.
Oh, okay. I was going to say,
veterinary. No.
Wow,
veterinary. So yeah, UC Davis Veterinary Hospital also is a teaching hospital. So anyone who wants to become a vet goes there, and they receive incredible training. And so Dr. Vishal, he assisted Bev, and he was like a kid in a candy shop. He it was very sweet because he was so excited about kind of like the newness of this procedure, and it really was kind of very groundbreaking in a lot of ways, and they documented it, and now it's part of her lesson plan, and she shows videos of Hugo when she gets to this syringomyelia, is the condition where the fluid gets trapped in the brain. So when she kind of, gets to that lesson, Hugo's part of that. It's truly incredible. Also, he's such an inspiring boy. I mean, our physical therapist's assistant actually ended up using him and his story as part of her, application on her essay, her application for veterinary school at UC Davis. And she got into UC Davis, and now he inspired her to go to veterinary school because she got to see his full recovery and kind of, the ways in which you can support the animal while they're trying to make the recovery. We did all the things: CBD, Chinese herbs, acupuncture, physical therapy, Reiki. Honestly, we were open to it all. And I think the combination of all of those things, also food therapy, we completely changed everything our dogs ate, and we started cooking for them. We learned so much about packaged dog food.
I bet.
Yeah, it's tough. It's, one brilliant acupuncturist vet described it to me as like, imagine if you lived your entire life on crackers. How nutritious crackers that are sprinkled with vitamins, how nutritious do you think that is for you as a human? And then translate, and then you go, that's essentially, so I was like, oh God, yeah, but my grandma's dog ate kibble their whole life and they lived. And she was like, well, your grandma's dog, that was before they were pumping it with this, and this. So that was a huge kind of development. And we started eating cleaner ourselves. We started checking labels on everything we were eating ourselves. It influenced our life, like, in every aspect of our life. He influenced our life. He taught us a lot. He taught us a lot about caring for ourselves, really. Yeah.
That's really beautiful. And really the overarching message from what I hear you talk about, and also from the book, is it takes a village, right? And all of these helpers, right? You don't do these things. You don't overcome the impossible on your own. Right. No. And don't think that it's okay. Like, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to get help. It's okay to receive it. Right. That's 100. What this is about too. Yeah. And that to me really relates to the work that I do when parents are struggling with their kids and struggling in their parenting. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay. That's what I'm here for, Yeah.
I think generationally, I think my parents' generation, it's all about kind of, grin and bear it and make it work, and, do it on your own, and you're weak if you ask for help. Right. The boomer generation, I mean, for better or worse, they're the hardest working generation, but they're really hard on themselves, and they don't ask for help. And we could not have done this on our own. We wouldn't have had, the resources. I knew that I needed advice. And that first weekend that he was diagnosed, I called Eric. I called another friend, Marie, who her dog had gone through leukemia. And she connected me with a doctor in New York, who then connected me with the radiologist in, oncologist in California, who we ended up seeing, who then led to, so it was just kind of this like ping pong, of people who I just said, who can help, how do we do this? who can help and who will be helpful.
Yeah.
I think that's the other part too, right? Sometimes people can help, but they're just not willing to be helpful. So yeah, we really had to find the people who the helpers who wanted to help.
Yeah. No, look, I can totally relate to that, even with our own struggles in our family, with our parenting and stuff, because we have had come across people that are like, no problem. I have a child that has some special needs, and
Sure.
you know, it's really tough. You've got to fight, and you're only going to get better as much fight as you have, if that makes sense, right? As much as you're willing to fight is how much better you're going to get in some cases, right? And so I feel like we drew these beautiful people to us that we now have in our lives, and I'm sure that's the same for you, right?
It's so very true. When you meet the helpers, you know, who are willing to help, who are in the fight with you, yeah, it's all about that human connection, you know, right? And it's like restorative in a way. You're like, oh, okay, thank God. They also want the healing to happen, and they're going to, you know, lead us, you know, or guide us in a way, because yeah, essentially we had no roadmap, right? There was no map. I was searching online. I was searching for, like, you know, dogs and brain tumors and how do they recover and life expectancy and all of this. And it's very grim.
Yeah.
I'll just say that the research is very grim, but again, the internet is a powerful thing. I just connected with someone in Los Angeles through Instagram, through the book, who I reached out to because they had posted that their dog was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And I just gave her all of my resources. I said, look, I was there, you know, I get it. There's no map. No one's guiding you. And here, please, you know, if everything that we went through, if it can help, it was worth it, right? If it can help you not struggle in the way that we did, then, you know, Hugo's fight, you know, obviously serves this greater purpose, obviously. So yeah.
That's pretty special. That's pretty special. And
Thanks,
I'm glad he lived a full life, and that, you know, that there is such a beautiful message around him and you too.
Thank you.
Like, that this didn't happen without your dedication to him. And that's what we do for our beautiful animals. You know, I have a squishy face. I was telling you earlier, I have a Boston Terrier, and we kind of call him a Boston Terrible sometimes. As much as we love him, he's kind of a terrible dog, but his name is Zeppelin, and we just, like, I mean, he is like the mascot for our family, right? Our lives revolve around this dog. We just love him so much. Yeah.
That's the way. That is the way they are, you know. They command a lot of attention.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, the connection that you have with them is that much stronger because of it, because they're always engaging you. Hugo would never let me slack off or rest. If I was on my computer, if I was working, if I was memorizing lines, you know, he was with me in LA when I first got the job, and I moved to LA, and we moved there together. And I remember having to occupy him, much like a toddler. I had to find a way to occupy him as I was line learning in the beginning. And I would just throw this Frisbee down my hallway in my apartment, and he would probably chase it for at least half an hour. We would do that half an hour, like 4 times a day, because I needed to tire him out. I had to find a way to tire him out. Yeah. He loved the Frisbee game, and that allowed me to learn my lines as I was doing this. I was like multitasking.
That's awesome, though. I love it. And I know if you don't pay attention, they get destructive, right? Or yeah. So no, that's good. Okay, so speaking of learning lines, can we switch gears to your other love, which is acting and NCIS Los Angeles? And so, okay, so we have kind of some big news, right? with your
We
role as
do.
Nell. Okay, so
Yes.
so shall we talk about it?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
Of
so
course.
yeah, you go ahead.
I think, yes, it's big news. You're absolutely right. It's 11 years in the making. You know, this season was just such a pleasure. We really developed Nell. She really took on this role of leadership in Hetty's absence.
Mm,
Um, we got to see her in a different light, which was it was so lovely, and it was just so good to stretch my muscles in that way.
mm,
And to act with, some of our our regulars that obviously, you know, over the years I hadn't had such meaty scenes with. And this
mm.
season I really got to have more meaty scenes because I was in this leadership role, which was really kind of empowering.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I think the door is always open for Nell at NCIS LA. But I think for now, it's time for Renee and for Nell to kind of like seek other adventures. I'm a writer, I'm a director, I'm a storyteller
Mm,
in that way. And I have been part of this show, which I'm so grateful for my time at this show. I've learned so much. It was like a little film school for me, really. Over the course of the show, I made 2 short films. I made a feature film that went to South by Southwest, the film festival, and then got distribution and is on Hulu. It's called The Relation Trip. And it's a surreal comedy. But I got to, if I hadn't had the show, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to, be
yeah.
creative outside of the show in that way.
Well, and
Because I had the stability of the show, so I could take these risks outside of the show. And that really led Chris and myself now to become writing partners. And that's our main focus now. So we are developing television. Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
so exciting. I'm so excited for you. So it must
Thank
have been
you.
a little bittersweet to have this season where you really had this empowering role and more meaty scenes and all that. But you did have a beautiful exit. So were you happy with the way that you left the show, knowing that there is like that little bit of a door open for you to come back if you wanted to, or even cameos or little scenes here or there? Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I think, it really was Nell's episode. And we really haven't seen that in the series. So I thought it was such a great way to go out. She had this really big decision to make. And she's a people pleaser, much like myself. I think a lot of, type A, the overachieving, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, type people often are people pleasers. And so I think it was written in a really beautiful way. She wanted nothing more than to fulfill her mentor's wish, but ultimately she had to kind of answer to herself, right? She had to find her voice and say, is this really what I want to do for the next 40 years of my life? This is probably the first job she ever had right out of school, just like it was the first job really I had right out of drama school. So, I think she kind of came to this like fork in the road and said, I either take the stable, kind of promised career path, or I take a left turn and I find out for myself, like what else this thing can do, So yeah, it's very similar. There's many parallels, obviously, between myself and Nell. So now's the time, now's the time is right. I've laid the groundwork in the work that Chris and I have done together. So yeah, fingers crossed, you'll be seeing some content from us real soon.
Oh, I feel like that's going to be a thing for sure. And please let me know. I'd love to know what you do. I'd love to.
Would love to. Yes,
And so
I'd love
as a fan myself, and for all of your fans, how have they reacted to your departure?
Oh my goodness, it's been overwhelming. The warmth, it's just,
Oh,
it's so touching. It really is. It's sometimes it's funny, because it's a television show and the audience obviously isn't present while we're
right.
filming.
Yeah.
Um, Theater, I grew up doing theater, so instantly if you connect to the audience. So there really is, there's this gap, there's this distance, but now through Instagram, I mean, it's
Yeah.
this instant kind of reaction that we can witness, in this way. And so there's just been, like I said, this outpouring of love and affection for Nell and support, and
Mm.
also, yeah, support for myself in this new venture that kind of I'm deciding to take. So
Yeah.
it's just been incredibly warm and supportive, and I'm so thankful, for our audience. They've stuck with Nell, and they've respected her, and they've valued her intelligence.
Mm.
I'm just so grateful I've been able to play the smart girl for so long,
Yeah.
because oftentimes, I don't know, we're not as lucky as actors. We're part of someone else's vision, right? We're part of someone else's story, and we don't get to pick and choose. And but in this case, I'm just so grateful that you know I've been playing the smart girl for a long time. And I
Mm.
think I'll share a story with you. I was in New York not long ago, in the city not long ago, just before the pandemic, and someone kind of barked at me. I was online in a coffee shop, and they kind of barked at me like from behind, and they said, "Hey, are you Nell Jones from NCIS Los Angeles?" And I was like, "Oh God, what did I do wrong?" I know I did. I'm a New Yorker. New Yorkers like don't pull their punches. They're like,
Yeah.
"I'm going to tell you what you just did wrong. You just cut me online. You just did this. You didn't, I'm just rattling off like the what ifs. What did I do?"
Yeah.
And um, I turned around, kind of like bracing for impact. And this woman, super gruff, tough woman, says to me, "I just want to let you know that I didn't know what to do with my 12-year-old. She was not like any of the other kids in her class. She's into science. She's into forensics. She's into computers. I don't know anything about that stuff. But Nell Jones,
Mm.
kind of gave her permission to keep exploring her interests. And
Mhm.
so, if my time on the show, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, what a gift. If my time on the show helped a 12-year-old girl to build her confidence and to find her path, in her chosen, interests, oh my goodness, what a gift. I
Yeah.
mean, that's
Wow.
really it. Yeah, and
And
visibility is everything, right? I mean, to see a young woman in this role, and she is oftentimes, the brightest bulb in the room. I think that's really super important, especially for young people, for the 10-year-olds who are now 21 year olds who are entering the workforce, and it has influenced those people. And it it's incredible. It's mind-blowing to think of it like that. Yeah.
and how cool that she ran into you. I mean, that is pretty serendipitous, right?
It really is, because nobody recognizes me because I look like this when I'm in my regular life. I don't look like Nell Jones. Nell Jones has bangs, and Nell Jones
Yeah.
is like very like put together, and I'm very much like not. So yeah, I never recognized. So you're right. It was very serendipitous, and it was very touching and meaningful to me.
Yeah.
And she was a really cool mom. And
Mm.
I'm really glad that I got to hear that story. Yeah.
Yeah, that's touching and so validating too, right? That, your work matters and clearly you're getting love in all areas, from the book to the show, and it's so well deserved.
Thank you. Thanks, Robbin.
I think this has been such a wonderful conversation. Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope everybody's enjoyed listening to you, because it's fascinating what you've been through and what you've learned and how you've turned that into something really good and really beautiful.
Thank you.
I just think that's the best. And I'm so glad you are getting so much love. You deserve it. You absolutely do.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, we just, with the book, we just want to encourage kind of curiosity, really. I think across all ages, right? Let's not let someone else define our obstacles for us. Let's not let someone else deter us from, trying to see the other side, or seek the other side of our own impossible thing. Let's go for it ourselves. Right. Let's encourage that inquisitive thinking, because we find, the people who find the answers in life, or I've found the people who find the answers in life are usually the ones who will be willing to ask the questions. Right.
Bravery,
so
it's curiosity. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
it's all wrapped into that. So I think about Hugo every day, obviously, and he's a major inspiration to me. And I hope that Hugo and the Impossible Thing will be a major inspiration to others. Really?
Well, it is not just beautiful to read, it's beautiful to look at. And so where can people get the book?
Yes. Shout out to Sydney Hansen, our incredible illustrator. She really created the modern classic that we were hoping for. We wanted it to feel like a storybook that we grew up with, but we also wanted it to have like a fresh kind of modern twist. So the book is released by Penguin Random House, and it is available anywhere books are sold, which is incredible.
That's amazing. That is so
anywhere
wonderful.
Books are sold. Yeah, you can check out our website, hugoandtheimpossiblething.com, and we have links to really everywhere it's sold. Independent bookstores, obviously, that's always our kind of first suggestion. Check out your independent bookstore. If they don't have it in stock, they can order it, and it could be there in like 2 to 3 days, which is so great to support them, especially at this time after the 1.5 years we've had. But then again, it's also in, the big box stores, the Targets, the Walmarts, the this, the that. So if that's more convenient for you, but Amazon. But check it out.
That's wonderful. And again, it's relatable to so many different circumstances. So it is something you want to instill in your kids, right? It's bravery, it's curiosity. Like I just said, it's also,
teamwork,
having a village, having team, accepting help, asking for help, all of this stuff. It's great. I'd love to see Hugo in more adventures. Maybe is that something you're thinking of? Yay!
For sure. We would love to see Hugo out there. Yeah, for sure. And we're also fingers crossed, maybe something animated.
Ooh, what? Okay. All right. Well, that is all such wonderful stuff to look forward to. Thank you so much for being here, Renee. I so appreciate you.
Thank you, Robbin. Thank you for your time. Thank you for what you're doing for this next generation of parents and children and the parents who are really benefiting from your work. So I thank you.
That's so nice. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to this edition of my podcast, Parenting Our Future. I'm parent coach Robbin McManne, and if you're enjoying this podcast, please share it with someone who you think might also need to hear this message. And don't forget to subscribe, and if you like my work, I would be grateful if you gave me a 5-star rating. For those of you who like my content and want more, visit me at yellingcurebook.com to get your copy of my book and to find other resources to help you. Until next time, I am wishing you and your family peace and connection.